Hello and welcome back. Today we're looking at a wither skeleton farm. So this wither skeleton farm is built in a double crossroads section and has a redstone included that can act as a full off switch. The farm also includes options to get kills using dogs or to switch it over to divert all the skeletons to a different drop chute for player kills. Here are the rates you can expect from this farm. With player kills, you can expect up to 720 wither skulls per hour, over 23,000 coal, and over 25,000 bones per hour. Using the farm with in the dog mode, you can expect around 250 wither skulls per hour, over 4,000 coal per hour, and almost 12,000 bones per hour. So let's take a look at how fortresses generate. For the wither skeleton farm, you want to look for these crossroads sections. For the most effective farm, it's best if you can find two crossroads sections that are adjacent to each other. Next, you need to determine the levels that your platforms are going to be on. I have a mod installed where you can see the outline of the different segments of the fortress. So they generate in individual sections, like your pathways, and this fortress happens to have two blaze farms pretty close to each other. There's that if you want it. Using these outlines, you can see the levels where you want your platforms to be. There's two configurations that you can use. You can put the first level of dirt actually below the outline, go up 3, your next platform, up another 3, and have your third platform. And if you put your platforms one block up, as shown over here, there is still enough space on the top so that your top platform has one level above it that is still inside the bounding box of your crossroad. Next, we'll take a look at how to determine in your world where these levels are. So you can see this is the level that you're walking on, and one of them, using this method over here, you actually have your middle platform even with the level that you walk on. I think in the other world, my farm, I actually have built like this one over here, where the first level is below the bounding box. Back into our creative world with our wither farm, we'll first take a look at the details of these platforms. So with the double crossroad, the platform ends up being 38 by 19. Of course, each platform needs a 3 block space above it because your wither skeletons are 3 blocks tall. And every block platform that is dirt or spawnable space that you want your skeletons to spawn on needs to have a wither rose on top of it. That prevents all other mobs from being able to spawn on that block. As you look around on these platforms, you'll see that there are some dirt blocks missing and replaced with glass, and that is because of light level. I wanted to build a farm that was able to have an off switch, so doing that, dropping lava down, as you saw on the other farm, and some of these blocks just don't get enough light. So if we stand on top of this block, you'll see that the light level is 7, where you need a light level of 8 to prevent all spawns of the wither skeletons. So they have the same similar mob mechanics to overworld skeletons, where they need a spawn light level of 7 or lower. You need 4 glass blocks around the outside of each crossroads section. So you can see you have 4 there, 4 there, 4 across. And in the middle where the crossroads sections meet, you also have 4 on each side for a total of 8 in this shape right here to make sure you have the correct light levels. You also need 3 blocks surrounding your piglin chamber. 1 there, and 1 there. Next, we'll take a look at the piglin chamber. Of course, we're using the mechanic that wither skeletons will pathfind to and try to attack piglins. So they are able to detect and pathfind towards the piglins from up to 16 blocks away. And we're using the trick where mobs see trapdoors as full blocks, and we get them to walk over here and try to walk on top of this trapdoor, and they will fall down into that hole. Your piglin here is surrounded by glass. I have trapdoors on top of here, which I don't actually think is needed. But it is very important that you have a block above their head to prevent them from jumping. I found that it is important to have the the floor that they're sitting on be solid blocks, and that is just to make sure that it's less likely for wither skeletons to see the wrong piglin through the floors, especially for the piglin on the first floor. And in my design, I'm using nether brick fences, and that is just to give the wither skeletons more space in here to be able to fall down. It is important that you have only fences on these columns looking all the way up and all the way down, or else I was having a problem where they would fall from the third platform, fall down, and I had a solid block there, and a certain percentage of them were catching on this and taking additional damage, so they were dying when falling the distance in the main farm over there. Some other notes, just make sure that you're using piglins with swords. Otherwise, most of them have crossbows, and if they have crossbows, they will shoot at your wither skeletons. So again, taking that extra damage, they'll die when they're falling down the full drop chute. And on the backside of your piglin chamber, you do need this extra glass block. That is in case wither skeletons end up standing exactly right here, where they're not able to path find successfully around either direction if they're perfectly centered on that block. So that extra glass block just prevents that from happening. And finally, make sure you name your piglin, or else they will despawn if you get too far away. Real quick, we'll just take a look at the spaces for the lava. On each crossroads section, there are 9 blocks between each of the lava holes. But in the center, where the sections are joined together, there are only 8 blocks. And we'll finish up over here by flying above the platform example and pausing for a second so you can copy this for your build. Back over here at the main farm, we'll take a look at some of the redstone on the roof of the farm that controls the lava. So I like using target blocks in order to do the lava toggles. You see there's actually 3 target blocks here. The center one toggles both sides, and the left and the rightmost target blocks will toggle only that side. The lights are there as indicators, just for when you're really far away. It lets you know that you actually hit the target. So you can see we hit the right target block, and only the lava on the right hand side was toggled. So we'll just turn that back on. So for the redstone, we have the target block up against a sticky piston, and the sticky piston is against the observing side of the observer. When it pushes the observer forward, it emits a pulse when it's fully extended and hits these redstone lines. So on the edge sides, these redstone lines just come over, they hit another repeater, and they go out to the dispensers with the lava buckets in. And you do need a repeater over here to keep the signal strong enough. The center target block works the same way, where you hit a sticky piston with an observer. When the observer is fully extended, it hits the redstone, but this time the redstone splits off to the left and the right. And these repeaters are here, they're serving as diodes, so the signal can only go one direction. So the center target block will send a pulse to both sides, but the target blocks on the end cannot send the signal back towards the center to hit the other side. So I removed a few of those slabs you need for spawn proofing, just to show as an example. And again. And we'll pause here for just a moment so you can copy this for your build. Next, we'll take a look at the drop chutes and some of the redstone control we have over that. So after your bottommost platform here, we come down 6 blocks, and then we have a lava blade. The purpose of this lava blade is to reset the fall damage. Otherwise, the wither skeletons that are falling from your topmost platform are falling much further than the ones that are falling from your lowermost platform, and it can have a significant effect on how much health is left when they take their fall damage. So note that I'm only using one lava source in here, and I am allowing it to flow down by 1 block, and I'm using signs to hold it up. So right now you'll see that the drop chute is actually blocked by these trapdoors. So we're just going to go ahead and flip this back into that mode, and you'll see that those trapdoors were not only retracted, but they were also flipped down. So when you're using these in the wolf kill mode, the wither skeletons, they'll hit your lava blade, reset your fall damage, and they'll fall down these side chutes down to the bottom. So it's a 24 block fall from the bottom lava up there down to these half slabs. I'm using a setup similar to a lot of other wither farms for the wolves, using wolves in minecarts. They have a lever here that allows you to send them back or pull them forward. In general, the two drop towers on the sides, they're typically kept in wolf kill mode all the time. If you wanted to use the player kill mode, you would divert them to the center. So real quick, we'll go through this redstone. So you have the lever powering this block, which powers the redstone on top of it, and also powers this redstone lamp. The lamp is just an indicator, so you know when it's okay to use your sword. The light on represents that it's okay to use your sword. So the redstone, it comes back 3 blocks where it hits a redstone torch, which serves as an inverter. So the signal needs to be inverted because you have your powered rail on both sides, and they need to be in the opposite state. So if we invert it, we come over, we power this block, which is the block that powers this powered rail, and it just continues across. And then after it hits the block in front of the power rail on the other side, we have another redstone torch inverting the signal once again to come across and power your 4th powered rail over on this side, as well as hit your redstone lamp rather. So one more time, we'll flip this and flip it back. I've broken out some blocks to show how the item collection system works. You have 10 hoppers in total, 6 in the center and 2 on each side under some of your rails. These rails don't lock this, by the way. And these are feeding together in a strategic way, where you can see in the center they are feeding straight down into another set of hoppers, but the ones on the side that are underneath your rails, they are feeding across this way and then across into these sets of hoppers. Ultimately, all the items make it into 2 rows of hoppers on both sides. You have a hopper chain here that feeds all the way across into your main storage, and one in the front that does the same. So you can see this half lead that way, and these 2 lead that way. And that is just in order to deal with the amount of items that you get, to try to reduce some of the hopper bottlenecks. And this stuff down here is part of the storage system, so we'll get to that through the end. Next, we'll head back up here and we'll take a look at some of the redstone that lets you switch it into the mode for player kills. So we saw before that these pistons here, they push these trapdoors forward, and when that happens, the trapdoors extend. So when these trapdoors were originally placed, they were in the extended position, and then you have these redstone torches here that cause the trapdoors to close when the pistons are retracted. And similarly, there is a trapdoor up here that opens and closes, and this either creates or removes a 3-block space that prevents wither skeletons from being able to fit through here if you're in the wolf kill mode. So if we come around to the front and we hit this target again, you'll see that this trapdoor here flips. So to go over the rest of this redstone, we'll start from the beginning. So we have a target block. The target block is powering a sticky piston. The sticky piston is attached to the observing side of the observer. The observer, when extended, hits another sticky piston. So this sticky piston is single ticked. So this redstone block effectively shifts back and forth every time you hit it. So if we hit this again, pulls it back, hit it again, and that redstone block is extended forward. So while that redstone block is extended forward, you can see the redstone, it comes across, hits this repeater, which powers this block, and here the signal actually splits and goes 2 directions. It goes up these stone steps to here, and this is what powers that trapdoor. Note that this is a half slab, and I found that increases the ability of the wither skeletons when they're standing on the trapdoors in that drop chute to see this piglin over here. And back down to this repeater. When this repeater powers this block, this redstone torch turns off. But when it's on, it continues along here, and that's where these two pistons are powered from. That moves these first two trapdoors forward and back. And the one final piece of this redstone is, you notice this redstone block also continues over that direction. That redstone just comes around and powers this lamp. The purpose of those redstone lamps are to just indicate which drop chutes are active. So right now, the trapdoors are retracted, so your wither skeletons will fall straight down. Whereas if you hit the target block, the redstone lamps on the outside turn off, and this one is illuminated. This one is an indicator that your center drop chute is the one that is active. So now we have our center drop chute active. The trapdoors are closed, so when the wither skeletons fall down, they'll land on the trapdoor, and they will not take any damage at that point. But when they're there, they will, within a second or two, they'll be able to see this piglin. So they will pathfind to him, and just like before, we have trapdoors here, and they will fall down into the drop chute. And just like other piglins, you want one that has a sword, and don't forget to name tag it. So we'll take a look over here at the piglin containment unit. He's just surrounded by glass blocks and trapdoors just to keep him in place. Because this farm is an even number of blocks, he does have two places to wander back and forth. Occasionally that will cause some of the wither skeletons to get caught on this end block, so they won't fall off themselves. However, the wither skeletons coming in behind them do push them off, so they don't get held up for very long. And one thing I forgot to mention before, is your redstone block. The signal comes across and it splits off across the back here to hit your trapdoor mechanism for your other side. But other than that, it is a mirror image. So once your wither skeletons fall down the chute, the actual fall distance of this drop chute isn't as important as long as it is not more than 24 blocks. Because the purpose of this section is to hit them with a sword, you're going to be doing more than one damage to them, especially if you have, a higher powered sword, that has sharpness or smite, with the main goal obviously being looting to increase your wither skull drops. So the kill chamber I have down here, it's a bit larger. I'm using gates on both sides, so it's more than one block wide. And it also fans out, so instead of just being the 2-block drop chute, I have it extending to 4 blocks. And the main reason for that is to just try to distribute some of the drops, just to prevent your hopper bottlenecking. One of the goals of this farm was I wanted to have an item collection system that was able to gather as many items as possible without getting into some of the really complicated hopper minecart contraptions that you can see out there. So although I am using hopper minecarts, none of them are moving. I'm not glitching a ton of them into single spaces, and it's really not that bad to set up. So I've removed some blocks here, so I'll quick show how to get those hopper minecarts into place. So put down a rail, and on that rail, push it forward a bit, put down a second cart, and then just break out your rail. And they'll line themselves, and they should, for the most part, stay put. And you can just repeat that for all 4 blocks going across. And once all your carts are in place, I just use trapdoors just to try to barricade them in a little bit. The platforms surrounding them, you see some of them have carpets. Every place that there's a carpet, there is actually additional hoppers under here. So the carpet is just to prevent the player from falling into the hopper hole as you're moving around. Okay, so I just removed some blocks here to explain how these hoppers are set up. So essentially, the two stripes across the center here, so these four and these four, those are essentially feeding straight down, and they're feeding down into standard item filters, which we'll go over in a second. The outside four, these four here, and the four across the back, they're just feeding into the center rows. So the ones on the outside, in addition to here being part of this farm, these rows are also what's coming from your outside drop chutes for your dog, your wolf kill areas. And after those center hoppers feed straight down, in order to make sure that every item will hit an appropriate filter, you do have to have the center four filters be set to the same items. So the most efficient way is to set them to be the most common item, which is bones. So you see these four, they come straight down, and it actually splits in the center here. So you see these half go that way, and this half goes that way. And it's also duplicated across the back as well. So you can kind of think of this as four separate storage systems, with all the items are duplicated at least 4 times, with the bones actually being having 8 different filters, just to help deal with the quantity that you get. So these the center 4 are all filtering bones, and then the one out from that, these are going to be coal, so that's that one there and this one here. And your outside most ones, they're filtering on wither skulls. Note that the filter here is a little bit different, just because these are the most valuable item. You can put more of your buffer items into here, so you're not stuck having 41 or 42 of these things being trapped up here all the time. So this is a perfectly valid setup. I guess you theoretically could have 41 there, but that seems dangerous to me. If the redstone ever has a hiccup and this falls out of this filter, then who knows what'll get stuck in there. So just to show around the back, we have the same setup. Your center 4 have bones in them, and then the next one out is coal, and the outside most ones are wither skeleton skulls. So once they go through the filters, they feed straight down into common chests that line up with the same item. So your most outside ones here, they are wither skeleton skulls, so they obviously want to go into the same chest silo. I have them arranged this fashion, so you have 2 hoppers pulling out of each double chest to give you twice as fast hopper transfer rate down, which is pretty important when you start looking at your bones and your coal. And you can just ignore these comparators. These was just using that for testing to indicate if there was anything in those chests. The final item you have to deal with this farm is all of the stone swords that you get. So stone swords, they end up being the biggest problem because they're not stackable, and we don't want them. So when they fall through, they will head out one of the 4 directions, and we have some droppers out here, which are difficult to get to, but you can see them in there. So the hopper string ends by putting anything that's left over that doesn't match a filter into that dropper. So then the dropper has a there we go, has a comparator coming off of it with 2 redstone going into a sticky piston that's attached to an observer. So anytime there's more than a few items in here, you can see that the comparator activates and the piston pushes that observer in front of this other observer, which creates the observer clock, and that observer is pointing at that dropper, and it will continue to dispense items until it's below the limit, which for single items is 39, but for items like swords they count for like 15 or something. so it activates with fewer items than that in there. So note that the way that I set up the item collection system, if something gets into this system accidentally, like if you accidentally chuck your sword into one of these hoppers, it's just going to be gone. If you wanted to, you could extend these filters out by one additional level, and you could just have some chests set up to just catch whatever's left. But if you run this farm for any length of time, no matter how many chests you have set up, they're all going to fill up with stone swords very quickly. Next, we'll show this farm in action. So I've replaced all the blocks that I destroyed up here. I guess I missed some carpet. But you notice the platform here, this section that extends back here, it's not just for my creative command blocks, but it also allows you to see up there. So right now you can see that the lava is dispensed. So if you have good aim, you can just barely hit those target blocks from here, and that will retract the lava. So in a second you'll see this lava disappear. There you go. And the scoreboard on the right hand side will count how many wither skeletons are currently in the world. So right now you can tell by that lamp we're diverting all of our wither skeletons to the center. So let's put this over into the wolf kill mode. And there you see the trapdoors all moved around, and now your skeletons are falling down into your outside platforms, your outside kill chambers. And you can see your dogs are killing them. So when you own the dog and it gets a kill, it does drop experience. I had mob loot drops off previously, so I turned it back on, and you can see that you do get experience from this. So as you can see, we currently have 70 wither skeletons in the world, so not too many are spawning up there. They're only spawning as fast as they're being killed. So we can kill off these ones in the center. And there you heard some of these pistons activate as the stone swords that you get from those player kills are working their way over to there. And next we'll put it back into player kill mode. And you see wither skeletons be diverted to the center drop channel. So let's help these dogs out here a bit. So what I found the best method for doing these kills is to kind of go in circles around here and swing your sword. The sweeping edge does make a big difference, and of course you want high damage and looting on these swords. So while the collection system that I showed, while it works pretty well and it does keep up with this, it won't keep up with it forever. In my testing, I found that this item collection system keeps up for 10 to 12 minutes, and then you'll start to see some items getting left on the platform in here. And when that happens, a lot of times what you can do is you can go into these hoppers and you can pull out the stone swords that your stalkers see in there. And it really does make a difference. On the side here, you can put down your trapdoors. You can go in here and manually take some stone swords out. It'll allow you to get player kills for a little bit longer before it becomes completely backed up. The drop numbers that we went over at the beginning of the video, they were acquired using a 15-minute test. So I did what you're seeing here for 15 minutes and then multiplied the results by 4. So another way to think about it is if you take those hourly rates and break them down into a minute, that is equivalent to 12 wither skulls per minute when you're using a looting 3 sword in the player kill area. That is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you and goodbye.